News Alert, closing arguments in these final 15 days to Election Day. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on the stump. Early in-person voting already underway right now in a critical battleground state. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Happy Monday. Here today, Sandra Smith, Democratic strategist Julie Roginski from the great state of Tennessee. Republican Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn is here. And today's hashtag One Lucky Guy. Get ready for the laugh. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge is outnumbered, but he outnumbers us in a great way with that joy.
Loving it.
Yeah, good.
Thank you very much for having me.
Big news day. Let's jump in. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Good to have you. Donald Trump has 5 events in Florida today where in-person early voting is on. Hillary Clinton appears to be shifting her focus to electing other Democrats. It may be a preview of things to come. The Democratic nominee over the weekend in North Carolina and Pennsylvania made an aggressive push to unseat incumbent Republican senators and seeking to tie them to some of Donald Trump's most controversial remarks. Here's that.
Unlike her opponent, Deborah has never been afraid to stand up to Donald Trump. Because she knows he's wrong for North Carolina, wrong for America. I think it's pretty clear when you look at Katie's opponent. He still refuses to stand up to Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway insists the race is heating up. She says the media are making a mistake in counting Donald Trump out.
The fact is that this race is not over. Many in the media want to say it's over. For the 12th time, they're counting Donald Trump out. We're not giving up. We know we can win this, and we are certainly not acceding to the same chattering class that's been wrong about Donald Trump for about a year and a half.
We're also hearing from Clinton's campaign manager, Robbie Mook, who says their primary focus remains getting their candidate elected.
Every presidential campaign has to work to get to that 270 number, and we're not taking anything for granted at all. So that's still our focus and our goal. Secretary Clinton at the beginning of this campaign said she wanted to help all candidates up and down the ballot, so we're running a coordinated campaign. This is not over yet, and battleground states are called battleground states for a reason.
Congresswoman Blackburn, I want to come to you first to get your thoughts on this.
Well, we have to remember 50 state races. That is what comprises our presidential election. And while you may say, oh, Clinton's up in the polling here, in some of the states it may be closer. And I think that you're going to see some shifting the last couple of weeks. The email scandal is not serving her well. The Clinton Foundation revelations are not serving her well. And this new connection with McAuliffe and the state senator in Virginia is not serving her well.
Interesting. You know, Judge, we have a look at what Donald Trump tweeted today about what he feels is really behind all of some of the polling. Let's look at that, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Let's pop that up on the screen if we can. And so this is a major story that Democrats are now making up phony polls, according to Donald Trump, in order to suppress the Trump vote. And so he says they're still going to win. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the Trump people are arguing, not Kellyanne Conway, but some of her acolytes did so yesterday, that they did some polling in areas and over-included Democrats and under-included Republicans. I guess their theory is if people think she's ahead by 12 points, then some of his people may stay home. I think that probably cuts both ways. If people think she's ahead by 12 points, some of her people might stay home. So I don't think she has anything to gain by doing that. I also don't know how she, Mrs. Clinton, or her people could control these polls. But I also understand why Donald Trump is saying that. He has to give the impression, no matter how much the odds are against him, that he's still going to fight for this cause. And if you come with me, and enough of you do, I'll be in the White House in January. He can't say anything but that.
All right. So, Julie, as I come to you, I also want to pop up what Hillary Clinton has been saying when she's asked about Donald Trump and some of the things he's saying on the stump. Let's watch that.
I debated him for 4.5 hours. I don't even think about responding to him anymore. I'm going to let the American people decide between what he offers and what we offer.
So 2 things there kind of struck me. One, is that taking the high road, or is it doing something else? You cannot make a mistake if you do not open your mouth.
So I think it's a little dismissive of her to say he is running against her. He is the Republican nominee. she's engaged in a debate with him, she has to respond to him. I understand she might not want to. I understand that he's obnoxious. I understand he called her several nasty names.
You think it hurts her if she doesn't respond?
No, I don't think it hurts her. I actually think she's doing the right thing politically. I think the way she said it was a little dismissive, and I wouldn't have advised her to do that. But I'm going to say something to the Trump supporters out there who think these polls are skewed. People said that 4 years ago, Brett Romney. And the people that said that misled Romney supporters who believed that Romney was going to win. And on election night, everybody had a huge rude awakening because they felt the polls were skewed. I think it is a huge mistake for anybody to think that the media, quote unquote, is rigging polling to advance a narrative, because what ends up happening is people end up having a very rude awakening. Let's deal in facts, and let's deal in statistics, and let's deal in mathematics, and that's what elections are all about.
But first of all, when talking about responding to each other's attacks, I think it's important to remember that she called his supporters a basket of deplorables. When you're talking about some of the egregious things that have been said. That being said, though, Harris, I want to point out Donald Trump just an hour ago said, "We are winning and the press is refusing to report it. Don't let them fool you. Get out and vote." This is a message that he stays on, Judge, and also Congresswoman. I want to get your take on the New York Times putting this in one of their most recent pieces. A criticism of Donald Trump, saying they've made little effort, referring to his campaign in recent days, to deliver a sharply honed campaign message or to address the flaws at the core of his candidacy. He's dwelling on personal frustrations at the expense of any wider appeal to voters. That's a fair criticism. I mean, here we are in the final stretch. What about a more honed-in message and not just sticking on the media is rigged and this election is rigged?
I think if he went out there and talked about emails, issues, the Clinton Foundation, and getting this country back on the right track, he would be so well served. What he laid out at Gettysburg is what people are wanting to hear. They are frustrated on the national security issue. Our troops are frustrated. Believe you me, I've got a major military post in my district, and they do not like that she was treated one way by mishandling classified emails, and any military person who mishandles one on one device is going to get a court-martial. It is so uneven-handed. They don't.
Congresswoman Blackburn is absolutely correct about the way the military is aggressively prosecuted for the mishandling of one email. But to what Donald Trump has been saying or hasn't been saying, he buried the lead in his own so-called Gettysburg address over the weekend by beginning it with, "I'm going to sue these ladies." At that point, he turned the media and the crowd off.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in detail later, but it does dovetail onto what we're saying here. I want to go to something that I think you can explain to us maybe in a detailed way, Congresswoman, and that is where the electoral votes are right now. Because the projections by Fox News over the weekend took it into 307 for Hillary Clinton, which is above the 270 she would need, and 183 for Donald Trump, which is below what he would need. And even if he picked up the 50 that are up for grabs, he would have to take some from her. So strategy-wise, because you've run a campaign and you've won a campaign, what would you tell him right now?
I would say focus on the issues. Focus on what people want to hear. I would be nonstop talking about what I'm going to do on the first 100 days. I would not say anything on any personal issues. I would go strictly for this is the agenda and this is what we're going to do. And let me tell you, I'm talking with members of Congress. We're getting these bills ready. We are ready to move forward with this. Let's make America great again. Let's make America safe again. Let's make America one again. I would certainly hope so, because it's what the country.
You're waiting for that pivot, Congresswoman. Anything now. You're waiting for that pivot.
I know we are. We want to see that pivot. You're exactly right. Let's stay focused on those issues. Go back and remember, this is a change election. People wanted an outsider. And that is what they came into this election cycle looking for. It's why you had 17 people standing on the Republican side during the primaries. And people threw a long ball with somebody who was the outsider. So we'll see how it goes.
And I hear the frustration among people in your party that you're talking the word pivot still this late in the game. It should just be straight ahead, according to what
issues, emails, foundation.
About. All right, we'll move on. Straight ahead right here. A new wrinkle involving Hillary Clinton's dealings with the FBI. The wife of a federal agent running for office got hundreds of thousands of dollars from longtime Clinton ally. And that very agent later helped oversee the Clinton email investigation. How this could be a new headache for Clinton's campaign. And Donald Trump unveiling his plan for his first 100 days in office. You just heard the Congresswoman talk about it. If he wins the election, she says he should stay with that. But his threat to sue the women who have accused him of sexual assault is getting most of the attention. Did he miss an opportunity to make his case finally to voters? Or is the mainstream media, are they to blame for focusing on his lawsuit comment? And stay with us, because we're going to pop up online when the TV version of us wraps up. FoxNews.com/outnumbered. Tap on the Overtime tab, and you'll see us there, a live chat, the whole thing. Or if you're into Facebook Live, go there. Outnumbered FNC is our handle. And, of course, we're always tweeting during the breaks. Tweet, tweet. Just a bunch of birds we are. Stay close.
Was later promoted to deputy director of the Bureau and eventually helped oversee the Clinton email investigation. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in Washington with more on what we are learning on this. Catherine.
Well, thank you, Sandra. Fox News has independently confirmed through campaign finance records that the wife of a senior FBI official did receive in excess of $400,000 from Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, a close Clinton confidant. Associate FBI Director Andrew McCabe's wife, Dr. Jill McCabe, ran for state senate in Virginia last year. While she lost the race, she received $467,000 from the group Common Ground Virginia, which is McAuliffe's PAC. And Dr. Jill McCabe also received another $207,000 from the Democratic Party in Virginia. The Wall Street Journal was first to report the story, showing the contributions represented more than a third of Dr. McCabe's campaign funds. McAuliffe, the Journal reports, personally recruited Dr. McCabe in March of 2015. That is the same month the Clinton email investigation began. At that time, McCabe's husband was associate deputy director, and as you mentioned, after the campaign ended, he was promoted to deputy director with an oversight role in the Clinton email investigation.
This goes to the very heart of the FBI's integrity. I want to see the director. I want to see somebody answer your questions. I want to see someone answer questions from the media about why he was allowed to maintain his position with regard to Hillary Clinton.
This is the FBI's Ethics and Integrity Policy Manual, and it makes clear that McCabe had to flag this to senior management, and it goes on to say that there had to be a decision in this case in writing. Quote, the employee's participation would not create an appearance of a conflict of interest to affect the public perception of the integrity of the investigation or prosecution. Fox News has asked the FBI for comment, and in the last few minutes they gave us one, indicating that McCabe did flag the incident to senior management, and it was determined that there was no conflict in this case. Though for some context, the House Government Oversight Committee recently asked McCabe to brief staffers and provide records before the end of this week on allegations of a quid pro quo in the email case. Sandra.
All right, Catherine Herridge, thank you for that. As we were listening to that, Judge Andrew Napolitano on the couch, I was getting worried about you there. I mean, these are unbelievable revelations.
These are unbelievable revelations, and before we get to them specifically, it's the sad backstory of this campaign. Whoever you think should win, Mrs. Clinton or Donald Trump, the diminution of the reputation of the FBI from world-class, apolitical, top-of-the-line law enforcement down to getting involved in the nitty-gritty, dirty politics that everybody else is involved in. It's very, very sad for those of us who've worked with the FBI, watched it, and admired it during our professional careers.
And you just hear James Comey's words in our head. There were no politics involved in this investigation, but then, Julie, we learned that $500,000 from the Virginia Governor PAC was donated to the wife of this FBI agent who then later worked on the investigation of Hillary Clinton, and then $200,000 from the Virginia Democratic Party.
So this, to me, raises a larger issue than just the specific case, which is at which point do you as a wife or as a spouse have a separate life apart and beyond from your husband? I remember when Democrats were going after Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court because his wife, Ginny Thomas, was very involved with anti-Affordable Care Act legislation, and people were saying he should not rule on it because he's a Supreme Court justice, because his wife took tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, from an organization that opposed the Affordable Care Act. So to me, the question is, when are women allowed to have their own life and their own career separate and apart from their husbands, or do you have to recuse yourself from potentially running for office as this woman?
You're avoiding whether or not this even looks bad.
I'm not avoiding. Does it look bad? Does it look bad? I'm not avoiding this.
Congresswoman.
Yes, this is cronyism. It's elitism. It is right at the heart of their two sets of rules. One for the basket of deplorables and everybody else, and one for the elites.
Should Clarence Thomas have resigned?
In Washington.
Let me say
and this is what people are tired of. This is one of the things that is at the heart of this election, just like the sad story of what has evolved with the FBI.
There's no law breaking here. And I actually agree with what Julie said. It is not the wife who should have recused herself. It's Andrew McCabe who should have recused himself, taken himself off the case,
That is
and
correct.
allowed others at
That's
his
correct.
level or below his level or above him, Director Comey, make the decisions and not him, so that he could avoid the appearance of impropriety. He may be as scrupulous as Mother Teresa, St. Teresa of Calcutta, but there is the appearance of impropriety because of this huge financial relationship. Add to this, Terry McAuliffe himself is being investigated by the FBI for we don't know what. We only know that he's been named as a target in a corruption investigation. At the same time, he's putting money into the campaign coffers of the spouse of the number
control
two
the
person.
state Senate
A couple of things.
Virginia.
Does this ring similar at all? And I know you say it should be the woman who can have her own career, but if you flip it, should Hillary Clinton have recused herself when money was flowing into the Clinton Foundation, and we knew that it was also coming from countries that had nefarious reputations with regards to human rights violations, so on and so forth?
She should have recused herself from dealing with people, or she should have said to her husband, I'm the Secretary of State. You're going to force me not to do my job because you've got these people I'm working with giving money.
I agree.
And I know that you have said that.
I do.
Real quickly, should Comey resign?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking you.
The question is, what would a President Trump or a President Clinton do with Comey if he's in there? I think he has a lot of answers to give that he hasn't given yet.
Should he resign?
I think that is something that certainly should be considered, Harris, because people are losing faith, and you've got to go in and have some type of reorganization and a different commitment from leadership.
All right, a lot more to get to. Donald Trump laying out his plan for his first 100 days in office, but also saying once the elections are over, he'll sue the women who have accused him of making unwanted sexual advances. Is that the best strategy?
Arrived in New Hampshire now and reportedly is making her way to the rally that you see before you that's playing out live right now. That's Manchester, New Hampshire. And this is the third time Mrs. Clinton will have been in the state, and she will be joined by Senator Elizabeth Warren on the stump today. So you'll have those two women on the stage, and as soon as that happens, we'll bring you a live look in New Hampshire. For now, we'll move on. Donald Trump is giving a Gettysburg address of his own. It happened over the weekend. He laid out his plans for his first 100 days in office, should he become the next president of the United States. And the Republican nominee said he will impose term limits on members of Congress, cancel every unconstitutional executive action issued by President Obama, begin the process of selecting a replacement for Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, start removing criminal illegal immigrants from the nation, and suspend immigration from regions prone to terror. But then he turned to the issue of women who have accused him of making unwanted sexual advances, which ended up getting the most press coverage. Watch.
Every woman lied when they came forward to hurt my campaign. The events never happened. Never. All of these liars will be sued after the election is over.
So, Sandra, we would hope that members of the media would cover the entire event, but that is low-hanging fruit and salacious.
Julie and I have known Kellyanne for many, many years. She's a Jersey girl. She's a political...
Kellyanne Conway.
She's great. We love her.
I can't imagine that she wanted him to say that. If you want Donald Trump to win, you want Kellyanne Conway to be right there whispering in his ear. Don't say that. Do say that. Stay on message. Act presidential.
So,
don't talk about the sexual
over the
stuff.
weekend, she said that he did hit some of the points that she had prepared for him to talk about, but this was problematic.
I think it is. There are so many good things that he laid out in that Gettysburg address. I tell you, I would stick with that. I wouldn't have anything to say about the women. I would not have anything condescending to say to anybody. I would talk about emails.
So not go after Hillary Clinton.
Foundations. Talk about her, the things that she has done. I mean, my goodness. You can look at the foundation. There is so much there. There is so much in the emails with what they have talked about, how conduct that was going on between her campaign, revelations that have come forward through those emails. There, he has laid out a reason to vote for him. If you want to make certain that we focus on economic growth and get off of this 1% a year economic growth, Donald Trump's your guy. If you're wanting change, Donald Trump's your guy.
He could have dropped a one-liner on something just shocking that he's going to do to stimulate the economy that we could all be reporting on today. But
yeah, you know, go in and pull out all of these executive orders is great. But how about rolling back some of these regulations that have a massive impact? The EPA, the IRS, you know, freezing federal employment is great. How about cutting federal employment 10%? How about pushing for a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution so that we can't spend money we don't have on programs we don't want? Don't get me started.
I'm not, no.
Julie, I was thinking this weekend, because I often do think of how you are watching the Gettysburg Address and what you're thinking of this version.
That's so nice. You think about me on the weekend?
Right?
I think about you too.
And I thought you might be salivating when he got to that line about women, but only because it is, as I mentioned to Sandra, that low-hanging fruit that some in the media will grab onto. And the other won't get reported.
And as you said, he must know that, right? So here's the thing. You're going to hallowed ground. You're not just going to give a speech at the Trump Hotel in D.C. You're going to hallowed ground where tens of thousands of Americans died for the American experiment. And if you read the original Gettysburg Address, and not just that, but if you read subsequent addresses that presidents and others have made at Gettysburg, you see that it's not about the self. It's not about petty grievances about oneself. It is, in fact, about a more perfect union. It is about a higher calling. Thank you. It is about all of those things that are about perfecting the American experiment.
You're right.
And what this was unfortunately not that. What this was about petty grievances. These women were mean to me. I'm going to sue them. The media is rigged. The election is rigged. Everything is rigged. Don't do that at a place where tens of thousands of people died to preserve a more perfect union, and that's unfortunately what he did.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Hillary Clinton ramping up her push into certain red states. This says Real Clear Politics has now declared Texas a toss-up state. It had previously classified it as leaning Republican, but RCP's latest average of polling shows Donald Trump leading Clinton in Texas by just 5 points, 44 to 39%. Meantime, Hillary is running TV ads there, as well as in Georgia, where the race has tightened. Clinton is also reportedly adding staff in Utah and continues to up her game in Arizona. But campaign manager Robbie Mook says they're not taking anything for granted.
The reason that we've gone into Arizona is that it has come into play. Donald Trump's divisive rhetoric, the shameful things he said about POWs and specifically about John McCain have put that state into play. We think we can win it, so we're doing everything we can. We're not running away with this. This race is going to be competitive up until the end.
All right. Well, this has sort of been their strategy all along, right, Judge? Keep the expectations low.
Exactly. But look, she has two goals here. One is to try and get the Democrats to take the Senate. That's not going to happen in Arizona, but could very well happen where she is now in New Hampshire. The other goal is to gin up her own victory margin in these states so that Donald Trump is barred by law from challenging the victories in those states so that she can wake up on the morning of the 9th and say, I'm the president-elect, whether he has conceded defeat or not.
Fair enough.
Well, and I would go one step further. She wants to get probably as close as she can to what would look like a mandate.
Yes.
She's not going to get a mandate because from all the numbers and when you factor in the others who are on the ballots in these states, and if you look at the electoral votes, the count as it stands right now, probably not a mandate, but to try to get it as close, then she also with conviction can say, if the Democrats can take the Senate, we've got the voice.
May I actually say something about that? Because Obama was the first president, I think in a couple of generations, to win over 50% both times, in 2008, 2012. I believe since Eisenhower, I'm not positive. To me, that's a mandate. But unfortunately, your friends on the Hill and others didn't want to give him that mandate. And you have people like John McCain saying the Republican Senate's not going to confirm any of his judges, any of her judges, regardless of whether she wins or not. So she could win with Reagan-esque numbers. She could win 49 states. And unfortunately, the way the House and Senate are structured today, they will not give her a mandate.
Suppose she wins Texas, which hasn't gone for a Democrat.
I hope you're right. I want to Republicans in here. Let's talk some of these numbers and pull up the Fox News scorecard. Texas right now is listed as leaning GOP. Of course, we know some of these polls have been showing it as a toss-up in this election. Congresswoman, looking at this map right now, where are you concerned?
I think that when you get to the end of this thing, and we're looking at it November 8th, what the Democrats will say they wanted to do was to run their numbers up as much as they could in some of these congressional races and Senate races. I actually think Republicans hold the Senate, and because it helps them with their fundraising. And they're looking 2 years and 4 years down the road. Clinton, I think, is overconfident. Her rhetoric seems to reflect that. Personally, I don't think that you're going to see Texas coming into play. I do think that in Florida and North Carolina, at the end of the day, I think that those will go, and Georgia, I think they will go with Trump. And, you know, same for Utah.
Is that assuming he's got a lot of work ahead of him the next couple weeks?
Yes, and I think that by their saying, well, we're shifting resources, places where they've shorted up, sure, they're going to take those field people and send them to Utah or send them to Florida.
Specifically with Texas, though, that's a border state, and we know where the conversation started with Donald Trump a year and a half ago, and that was with building the wall and those illegal immigration issues that are close to home to those people who live in border states.
And when you go into South Texas, they will tell you they want to get that border secure, as they do in southern Arizona. That is of great concern.
All right, just a couple more weeks to go, and meanwhile, they risk their lives on the battlefields to keep us safe. Now, thousands of National Guardsmen being ordered to pay back their enlistment bonuses, or else. Is this any way we should be treating our vets? Plus, new video surfacing that shows then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton lecturing her staff about cyber security, even as she herself was using a homebrew server. Judge.
You're making this up.
Well, this story has some people fired up. After nearly 10,000 members of the California National Guard are reportedly being ordered to pay back their bonuses. According to the Los Angeles Times, the Pentagon says an audit revealed they were overpaid. The money was meant to encourage enlistment during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan more than 10 years ago. If the soldiers refuse to pay back that money, they could risk being fined or taxed even more. And now those soldiers are stunned, finding themselves suddenly in debt and feeling very betrayed. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy says he's outraged. Quote, "It is disgraceful that the men and women who answered their country's call of duty following September 11th are now facing forced repayments of bonuses offered to them. Our military heroes should not shoulder the burden of military recruiters' faults from over a decade ago," end quote. The California National Guard says its hands are tied on this and that it has to follow the law. Congresswoman, your thoughts?
Oh, this is absurd. The six-figure salaried bureaucrats over in the Pentagon who made the mistake are the ones that need to be held accountable for this. I mean, it is ridiculous when you look at they can't seem to take care of the veterans. They make a mistake like this. And in the audit, instead of going after the bureaucracy that made the mistake, they go after the troops. This is unbelievable.
Just to give you one personal example.
Unbelievable.
One former Army captain says he refinanced his home mortgage to pay back his $25,000 reenlistment.
So
this is awful.
These troops signed contracts with the Pentagon, and the contract said that the numbers varied, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000. Here's your enlistment bonus. The contract is an enforceable legal document. If the people who signed it on the Pentagon's part made a mistake, that is no reason to penalize the troops. The troops complied with their end of the contract.
It's the bureaucracy that made the mistake.
But the political issue here cannot be overlooked. President Obama, with the stroke of a pen in an executive order or a phone call, could stop this from happening.
All right,
it's so exquisitely unfair that he permits it to happen.
So here's my confusion about it. Some are calling it a mistake. Could it possibly be something else?
What else could it be?
What else could it be?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they put this in motion, right? They have the contracts there. They know that reaching back and trying to claw back that money, what does it do? What does it serve?
It causes ruination. Listen, if I owe you money and I don't pay you and you don't sue me for 6 years and 1 day, you can't sue me forever. But if you owe the government money, guess how long the statute of limitations is? forever.
Right.
Right.
So this
See,
hurts
here's
the very
the thing,
fighting
Harris.
forces that are already shrinking.
That's right. And you've got other agencies, whether it is HHS or CMS or the EPA or the IRS, they will all come to you retroactively when it is a mistake that they have made or a decision that they have delayed. And then they will try to recoup that money. But to do this to our troops, when they have been deployed and they have been on the front line and they have put their life in danger and their lives on hold.
Over and over and over.
Complied with the contract.
They did everything the contract required them to do, and then for them to come back for that money, this is despicable, needs to stop.
Do you see President Obama lifting up the pen to fix this?
Well, he better. I mean, I don't know who can do this, but if it's President Obama, he could do this with a stroke of a pen. He should. I don't think I've been so angry reading a story in a very long time. You have people who literally have Purple Hearts. You have people who got almost killed coming back because they were promised a certain amount of money to re-enlist. They're now in their 40s.
It's disgusting.
And they're coming back and they're being told to give this money back. It's egregious. President Obama needs to fix it yesterday. This should not even be a story.
Right.
The minute this came across
when
his
you
desk,
read it, it's hard to believe that it's
heartbreaking.
true. To give you another personal story, a 48-year-old Army Sergeant Robert Richmond suffered permanent injuries in Iraq, a roadside bomb attack, had previously served 20 years in the Army. He is refusing to give back. He got a $15,000 bonus. His words, I signed a contract that I literally risked my life.
Good for him. You know what?
Yeah.
Good for
Well, and
him.
the problem, too, is that it takes a tremendous amount of money to sue. And so they would have to gather themselves all together.
Yes.
Many of them are still recovering from their injuries. I mean, that is
PTSD,
insult upon
which
injury.
stays with them.
Really scary.
Yes.
And you know, Judge, you'll be the first person to agree with me on this. The government has unlimited resources to sue you.
Of course.
When you're the little guy, you have no resources to sue them.
Correct.
The fact that these people have to even go to court to get what's owed to them is egregious.
But the way the law is worded, the government does not have to go to court. The government can just
claw back.
He can claw it back. The government can claw it back. You put it, I asked, could it be something other than a mistake? And you said a delayed decision. I mean, so even if it were the original mistake, by delaying this, you're penalizing these people even farther.
That's exactly right.
All right, we'll move on. New calls for the FBI to investigate after a top House lawmaker said Hillary Clinton's lawyer may have exposed Clinton's email server to China, effectively putting national security secrets up for grabs. More on that. First, let's go to John Scott with what's coming up in the second hour of Happening Now. Hey, John.
Hey, Harris. We are awaiting a Hillary Clinton campaign event, this one in Manchester, New Hampshire. She'll be campaigning with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. They are looking to help down-ballot Democrats in states seen as possible flips for Senate seats. It all comes as we get a new dump of WikiLeaks documents. More on that as we analyze them throughout the day. Clinton running mate Tim Kaine is in Miami as the race for that state, Florida, heats up. Donald Trump also in Florida today, making 3 stops. At an event last hour in Palm Beach, Mr. Trump saying he will win the state. And we have breaking news out of North Carolina, a brand new battleground poll to tell you about. Interesting numbers. Top of the hour, happening now. Harris.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thanks.
New allegations Hillary Clinton put our national security secrets in danger. A top Republican lawmaker says Clinton's lawyer, Heather Samuelson, may have exposed Clinton's entire private server to China when she reviewed the contents of that server on a laptop that's been tied to Chinese cyber spies. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte, writing to FBI Director James Comey, quote, "It seems clear that Secretary Clinton and her associates played fast and loose with our national security, and yet no one, not a single person involved in this harmful fiasco, has been held accountable." This as new video emerges of Clinton in 2010 lecturing State Department staff about cybersecurity and how hackers try to exploit vulnerabilities in the system.
I gotta see this.
Hold on, Judge. Watch.
Protecting our cyber infrastructure and digital networks has to be an effort of national security as well as economic development. I think this is a responsibility we all share as Americans.
Judge's reaction in a moment. Clinton gave that warning despite the fact she was using a personal homebrew server, we all remind you, at that time. Judge?
Well, we'll start with the lawyer. When you represent a litigant, civil or criminal litigation, and you're dealing with national secrets, you yourself have to be cleared by the Justice Department, a very, very difficult procedure to look at those secrets. I don't know if Ms. Samuelson did. Let's assume that she did, and therefore she was able to look at the secrets on her laptop. But if she used an instrument, a laptop, which itself was not secure and prone to attack by enemies who do not wish us well, she may very well have committed the same crime, failure to secure state secrets, that some of us have alleged Mrs. Clinton.
We could discuss all day, Congresswoman, the risk that this puts us and our country in. However, politically, it just seems to fall flat and not go anywhere. Why is that? Why isn't anybody being held accountable?
This is one of the questions our military members are asking, because they would face a different standard, and it's another example of the double standards that exist in our system. They would be court-martialed for this. Now, when you look at Hillary's emails, yes, there are certain encryptions that are expected in a system in order to handle confidential information. And then there are vulnerabilities that exist in the .coms and the .govs. And you have bad actors that have exploited these. Now, we have tried to pass legislation without success that would deal with piracy and privacy and data security and some cybersecurity components. And I think you'll see us go back and do this. People should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the content of those emails. It is illuminating what we are learning about the two different tiers, the double standards, and you know, I think more emphasis should be put on it. As I said, if I were Trump, I would talk emails, foundation, issues all day long, every day.
And go ahead, Harry.
Well, I just wanted to ask the Congresswoman, you know, you have Chaffetz, you have ISA, you have a lot of people, yourself, who are big and bold in your ideas on how to fix this. Yet we haven't seen anything akin to like a walkout. Like, how big an issue is this really for Congress? Because some people in the nation feel it is. As Sandra pointed out, politically it's not hurting Hillary Clinton. Well, but is this something that is so big that you should go big, I guess is the question. We've had hearing after hearing, but maybe that's not how you get it.
And in fact, Julie sat on the couch the other day and said, Republicans should stop. Congress should stop doing this because it's not going anywhere. Well, we often like to say that's their job, Julie.
Yeah, I said something slightly different. I said it's losing its efficacy and potency because so much has been investigated without anybody getting into trouble. So it looks like a lot of smoke,
Congresswoman,
no fire. But yeah,
this is something where you have to say yes. There are vulnerabilities. We have to fix them, and you've got to move it to the floor. I think House leadership is going to have to move privacy, piracy, data security to the floor, pass these. It has to be done. Your internet service providers have to have a part to play in this. Yeah.
All right, something new every day there. Meanwhile, Saturday Night Live, did you catch it? Poking some fun at the final presidential debate. But it was actor Tom Hanks who stole the show, playing our very own Chris Wallace, moderator of that big showdown. The skit now going viral big time. Tom Hanks is amazing.
Right?
That was amazing. Yeah, funny.
I mean, Chris has been our hashtag one lucky guy, and we know he's got a tremendous sense of humor. He was with us for Wingate.
But they did allow her to plug all her accomplishments.
It was very flattering to have Tom Hanks play, but Chris deserves all the flattering. He was
amazing.
Absolutely spectacular in that debate.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with him on Friday.
He looks like him. He really became Chris Wallace.
Chris, for the first time that I had heard, talked about how he was having an out-of-body experience. His nerves were so ferocious
Could you
at
not?
that
Could
point.
you imagine?
Yeah, and then he said at one point it was like somebody else talking. I wonder if it was like Tom Hanks talking.
Which is which? Look.
It's pretty good, though. What do you think, Congresswoman?
I thought Tom Hanks did a great job. I just, you know, it's one of those things you watch it and you laugh, because it's so well done. And I
right down to the glasses, right?
Yes, the entire skit was so well done.
I mean, you've got literally a multi-Academy Award-winning performer.
Yeah.
Talk about an out-of-body experience. It's not just some random guy imitating you. It's Tom Hanks. How awesome is that?
Yeah. Kudos again to Chris Wallace.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Congrats to him. And thank you, Congresswoman, for being here.
Always good to be with you.
And Judge Knapp, good to see you. We're going to stay right here for Outnumbered Overtime on the web, foxnews.com/outnumbered. Click on the Overtime tab. And Happening Now starts right now.